This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net. It's time for What in the World with Paul Seaburn, now starting year 9 with newclevelandradio.net. Paul Seaburn walked into a local Chinese restaurant in the fall of 2017 and found our business card. Within minutes, he was calling and we took him on at his word that he would entertain us and our listeners. And he has and will continue to. I guarantee it. Within the first 2 years, as we podcasted from our studio, moved on into Panera in Brecksville and the old Joe Max, he invited his old college fraternity brother, John DiNallo, to be his color commentator and host of What in the World of Odd Sports. This dynamic duo has built a fan base and continues to bring us real news, sometimes weird, always funny, or at least we try to make it funny. Within the next month, we will be part of the Cleveland 13 News programming feed in collaboration with New Cleveland Radio, providing you a live broadcast weekly. Check us out live on Tuesdays, even though today is Thursday, at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So as we begin 2026, and just as a reminder, if you were out on Paul Seaburn's Facebook page today, he said, as we begin 2025, sorry, it's 12 months later. But this is what we're going to be talking about today. A review of our favorite New Year's Eve celebrations and an update on what's in store for 2026. We've got earth-shaking news from Cleveland, BigFoot celebrations in Pennsylvania, that I know John DiNallo is looking forward to, marathoning in Antarctica, and stranger than usual animals in Australia. Something to renew your faith in young people and people who actually hate donuts in Massachusetts. This I gotta hear. More odd news, world records, and trivia. Some strange sports will be presented to you by John DiNallo, and we'll play everyone's favorite weird news game, Bluff the co-host. And I believe John was the winner at the end of 2025. This show is sponsored by Paul Seaburn and his book, What to Say to a Naked Alien, Yes, I Can, Coaching with Karen, and singer-songwriter Cassandra Kabunski. Now, we have come a long way since 2017. We have sponsors, and we're still funny.
Wow. I sure hope so, Karen, after that introduction. Boy, what a legacy to live up to. And you, of course, played such a big part in it by providing a podcast forum way back when people weren't necessarily doing podcasts. So we've had a chance to grow in the podcast world and grow in Northeast Ohio, where we're at. So I want to thank you for that as well as that fantastic introduction. My voice, the voice you hear in your ear right now is me, Paul Seaburn, your host of What in the World, everybody's favorite weird news show. Real news, sometimes weird, always funny. As Karen said, that's our motto. We're not perfect, as Karen pointed out by my post on Facebook. Also, Karen, I want to mention we didn't share our photos. So do I need to do that?
Oh, yes, we should. So excuse us, everybody, as we do some behind the scenes work for a second here. All right, clicking on it. All right, we should be ready.
There we go. All right.
Oh,
so, beautiful. That looks good. I guess, I don't know. We'll see. Does that look okay?
Yeah, it will. It should be okay once you start clicking on them. Yep.
There we go. Okay, great. Let's we don't want to spoil everything. There we go. All right. So I apologize for all that. But you know what? As I said before, we're not perfect. We're here to have fun. That's the name of the game with What in the World. If you came to us through my Facebook page or Karen's Facebook page or newclevelandradio.net. Thank you so much for joining us from there. If you came to us through Mysterious Universe, I want to thank you as well Our past listeners know that for the past 11 years, almost 12, I was the editor and head writer at mysteriousuniverse.org, one of the top paranormal websites in the world. That job ended on December 31st, 2025. So I will be looking for a new home for that portion of my writing, and I will definitely mention that on the show when we get to that. So when that does happen, let me see what if I can do this here. Okay, the the first voice you heard in your ear was of course Karen Hale, our media mogul for newclevelandradio.net, our co-host for What in the World, all around great person, sponsor with Yes I Can Coaching with Karen. Please check out everything that she has available on newclevelandradio.net, especially the coaching services, also some of her other great podcasts. Great platform, lots of interesting podcasts. We're the comedy news podcast, so don't go there looking for another one. There's only one. What in the world? And the person who helps me every week make that happen is my old buddy John DiNallo, my college friend, the host of What in the World of Sports, our trivia guy, our color commentator. Hi, John. How are you today?
Hi, Paul. Doing really well, and yeah, that was quite an introduction by Karen. I think she did a terrific job on explaining what we've done and where we've come from, and where we're headed now in
Yeah.
2026. So, looking forward to another great year with our podcast, and I'll turn it back over to you, Paul.
Okay. For those of you listening, if you're not in the Northeast Ohio area, that's where we are. We're in Northeast Ohio. We're all south of Cleveland, in the suburban areas south of Cleveland. It's a beautiful day out there. It's what I call the Weather Channel lulling us into complacency, because it's January 8th, and it's 50 some degrees. It's supposed to be 55 degrees. January 8th. We've had snow in June in Northeast Ohio. So
Well,
please,
I think
yeah,
sure, Paul. I
don't
think it's going to be 61 tomorrow, also on the
61,
weather front.
61
Right.
degrees. Don't put your winter clothes away. Don't put the snowblower away. Keep them out. Get your Easter bunny decorations for it, because we're going to be doing that for Easter and probably into May. But anyways, it's always nice to have a nice warm day in January. Anyways, Karen did a great job of going through the stories that we have today. So I don't have anything else to add, although we do have some world records. Um, John's got a great weird sport for us this week, as always. So let's get right to it with our first story here. So this is a Northeast Ohio story. We like to cover some of the weird news that happens in the Cleveland area. And this happened last week, where Cleveland, of all places, had an earthquake. Were you aware of that, John? Did you feel
I
the
was not at all, Paul. This is the first I've actually heard of it. So please educate me.
Let's see. I think I can get my photos up here. Okay. The there's my for those of you who didn't miss Karen plugging my book, What Would You Say to a Naked Space Alien? Our sponsor. It's available on Amazon.com, or go to my website, paulseaburn.com, as well, and get more information about that. So here we are. Here's a map of Cleveland, and that's the earthquake itself was in Lake County, which is very near Cleveland, east of Cleveland, along Lake Erie. That's why it's called Lake County. It was measured at a magnitude of 2.6 on the Richter scale. Now that's nothing. To give you some idea of what 2.6 on the Richter scale, it's barely 2 beers on the Cleveland Belch scale. So, I do more. I make louder noises yawning than that earthquake made. So it was a small earthquake, but in Lake County, some people didn't think it was that small. There was a little bit of minor shaking, and out of habit, managers at the Lake County Taco Bells all went to check their restrooms. Make sure, make sure there's nobody in there who might need some help. The we're going to talk about this in a second, but the Cleveland area, believe it or not, is prone to small earthquakes. And by small, the faults that they make, we have potholes bigger than the faults that they make. So it's really not a major event when we have them. As John pointed out, he didn't even know it happened. So I'm sorry, John. I'll call you up time.
No, that's fine. No, it's like I said again, it's the first I heard of it. Now, Paul, let me ask you something. You have
Sure.
you have the city of Detroit indicated there, Cleveland's indicated, and you have a line. Is that the line of where the fault was, or where the
No,
earthquake was?
the star is where the fault was.
Oh, okay, I
You
see.
probably
And
thought the star is where I am, but no, that's where
well,
the
yeah, that kind of goes without saying. But no, but no. So
star
what is that line from Detroit into Lake Erie?
line
Is it
from
anything?
Detroit. That is
Yeah.
the border between the United States and Canada.
Oh, okay.
There,
All right. Okay.
yeah, how
I've
about
lived here
that?
my whole life. I should know that. But
You
thanks for the
should. That's
info.
right. I would have some comments on that if this were a political show. But I want to use this opportunity to point out that we don't talk about politics at all on What in the World. We don't talk about business. We don't talk about religion. Nothing controversial. Just good, clean fun like earthquakes. Uh, so
It's a good thing.
yeah, no, so I want to point out, since we're talking about earthquakes, there was also an earthquake. This is my favorite New Year's Eve celebration. There was also an earthquake in Parma, Ohio, which is a suburb of Cleveland, on New Year's Eve. And that particular earthquake was caused when a giant pierogi, fell from the sky at midnight into a giant vat of sour cream. And people,
Wow.
yeah, so this is
Oh, the photo shows that. Sure.
this was, if you're not in Northeast Ohio, this was huge news in Northeast Ohio. I don't know if it made it to the national news at all, but I happened to be visiting my optician down there, whose office is on the corner of the street where I grew up, and this bar where this particular New Year's Eve celebration occurred, Sloppy Bob's, I'll give them a plug, on State Road, was right across the street from my mom's street. So
Wow.
this is not my picture, because when I was there, they were still erecting the pierogi, if you know what I mean. But they were expecting thousands of people. The police came while I was there, and they were letting the owner know that they would be guarding his building in case anything happened. Nothing's going to happen in Parma, Ohio. This street is lined with bars, and everybody was freezing. They came out to watch the pierogi fall into the sour cream. Then they went back inside and they ate pierogies and drank beer because it was cold and it was snowing. So yeah. So dropping the pierogi, that's what it's called now. I thought that meant something completely different that we weren't allowed to talk about on this show. So this was the first year for the pierogi drop in Parma, scheduled to be one of the biggest New Year's Eve celebrations. We'll probably get some, maybe we could host it next year. That might be a thing we can
Would that be fun?
Yeah, we could be the Anderson Cooper and Andy Cohen of Parma.
Okay.
Okay.
I think we should do that. Yep.
We're going to all have to get Botox injections to look like Andy Cohen. And I'm not going to, that's all we're going to talk about there. So, but John, speaking of earthquakes, which I was, we should know, there's another, they were talking about faults and why Cleveland had an earthquake. So there's actually, we are in an earthquake zone, but we don't have a fault. We don't have an earthquake fault. We have a fault that goes through Brown Stadium, but that's called
Oh, yeah,
well, hold on, John. Let me get to the
again.
punchline here. This is what happens when you don't show up for rehearsal, That fault going through Cleveland Stadium is called the owner's fault. Bada boom. Where's my rim shot there?
Yeah, where is your rim shot? And also, how about the horn? Is the horn available for
Oh, the
2026?
horn's still here. Yes. We brought the horn
Okay.
from last year, so the horn has
Sure.
made it through.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
John, talking about earthquakes, we, regular listeners know that John and I met at John Carroll University in University Heights, Ohio, as freshmen with fraternity brothers. And John Carroll happens to be, or no longer is, but at one time in the 40s and 50s, John Carroll was the center of seismic analysis in the Northeast Ohio area. And it was done by two Jesuit priests. One was, his name was Father Frederick Odenbach. He was the seismologist. And then Father Henry Birkenhauer, who happened to be principal by the time John and I got there. And they had their seismograph set up in Griselli Tower, which is the famous tower, the landmark of our school. And I remember it was really tough. They used to, the people who ran the seismograph used to complain when we were there because we played our stereos too loud and it messed up the graph. It was we'd get into some some heavy metal and bam, 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 they're knocking on the door. Is there an earthquake in there? So you remember that, John?
Absolutely, Paul. Sure. In fact, I think the seismology department still was somewhat prominent after the 50s, but you're right though. The 40s and 50s was
Yeah.
the heyday,
I
for
looked
that
it up. They
that
phased
department.
it out in the 90s. They phased Father
Right.
Birkenauer retired, and I think he was the one who kept it going. And
Okay. Sure.
there were
Sure.
no other Jesuit with the
Wanted to
priest.
do that. Right.
I don't want to say this. The priests were involved with something else because other people are going to think we're talking about something that I don't want to talk about on What in the World.
That's
But
right.
no, they got involved with other activities. So anyway, let's move on from there. So there's the big news on from Parma, Ohio, the big drop and the big pierogi drop, and also the big earthquake drop in Lake County. Now we move to Pennsylvania, which was on that map, by the way, John, as you pointed out.
Mm-hmm.
This story is about Bigfoot. Bigfoot is fairly well known in Ohio, but there are even more Bigfoot sightings in Pennsylvania than there are in Ohio, and in particular in a city called Derry Borough. Now, not Dairy, but Derry Borough, like the English Derry, in Southwest Pennsylvania. And we talked about this last year. They are the home of an 8-foot Bigfoot statue, which was donated by the artist. Here's a picture of the Bigfoot statue. Very, very friendly looking. Not he looks more like an explorer than a terrifying Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has that inquisitive face, or his face appears to be
Yeah, he's
inquisitive.
looking. Yeah, he's like he sees an eclipse coming, or a comet, or maybe an airplane. I don't know what he's looking at up in the sky in Pennsylvania. Could be a football coming at him. For I don't know. So anyway, someone donated this 8-foot, a resident of Derry, and so they put it on downtown, but they didn't really have a place to put it. So you can see it standing on the trunk of a tree, and they didn't like that. But they named, because it was so cool. They made Bigfoot their city's cryptid, their city's monster, basically.
Hmm.
So and then they decided that wasn't enough. So they declared to all Bigfoots around the world that Derry Borough is a sanctuary for Bigfoot. A sanctuary.
That's the first I've ever heard of that,
Well,
Paul.
I know, John. That's why people tune into What in the World, to get all this,
Of course, sure,
you
makes
know,
sense. Yeah.
earthquaking news. Yeah. So I'm thinking, I understand the concept of sanctuary. It's a safe place. But Bigfoot's already 8 feet tall. This one's 8 feet, it's probably 9, 10 foot tall. They're huge Bigfoot. Shouldn't Derry be a sanctuary for people being chased by Bigfoot rather than for Bigfoot itself?
That's a lot of logic right there, Paul.
Food for thought.
You would think that. You would think that.
So what they did was they designated a park. This is where it looks like where Bigfoot is now residing. The park is called Bigfoot Hardscape Park. It's called, and it's in beautiful downtown Derry Borough. the people who know something about Bigfoot, which is John and myself, and Karen as well, after listening to us talk about it for 9 years, they should be glad this is not a swamp ape, because then it would be a much more disgusting display, where this is a nice little foresty, meadowy type of park with benches to sit on to look at Bigfoot's rear end. It appears. I don't know why I would want to do that, but I'm
He
going to say,
almost looks like an old biblical figure, doesn't he?
what's that?
He looks like an old biblical figure.
Oh yeah,
He does look like it. Yes,
like,
yes, he
like
does.
Methuselah. Thank you very much. That's right. Yeah, he looks kind of like Methuselah, or you know more about the Bible than I do.
I think Methuselah is good. I think Paul and Karen, I think Methuselah works.
We wore out. Yeah, that's right. We wore out my knowledge of the Bible right there. Please don't take that as a statement on the Catholic education that both John and I had. 16 years in Catholic school, and the only biblical person we can remember is Methuselah.
Well, that's because of his age.
I know. An old biblical character. Like, there's no other old biblical character. Okay, enough on that. All I'm saying is, I think a giant pierogi is better than a giant Bigfoot. So I go back to Parma. I think Parma has a much better designated food, the pierogi, and they also have their city animal, which is the pink flamingo. And here's a giant pink flamingo. If you come to Parma, Ohio, near the Script Parma logo in State Road Park, on State Road, not far, by the way, from where the giant pierogi is. So you can hit two landmarks at once. See the pierogi first, then go down and see the giant pink flamingo right down the street in State Road Park. It's called something else now, but most people still call it State Road Park. I just got the title for my 2 new books. I'm writing 2 new sci-fi books. One is The Giant Pierogies That Ate Parma. And then the giant flamingo that ate the pierogies that ate Parma. So that will be the sequel. Okay. I'm sorry, John. You can moan all you want on that one.
Well, that's okay. No, I mean, I think it's kind of fun. I think it's humorous. I just do.
But 2 guys who grew up in Parma, we're proud of it.
Absolutely.
Okay. So speaking of pink, got a story from Australia. That we go around the world, we go around the universe sometimes on What in the World. This week we're sticking to the planet Earth. So this guy is fishing in Gippsland, Australia, and he thought he caught a giant trout. This sounds like something that happens in Lake Erie. He thought you caught something really cool, and then you reel it in and it's a boot or something. This guy caught something really cool. What he caught was a giant pink platypus. Now, this is a real animal. This is not a Bigfoot. This is not a Loch Ness monster. This is a real animal, a giant pink platypus. Very rare. Before you get upset, he released it. He reeled it in. He released it. And then, being a typical fisherman, he went home and he told his friends that he caught a giant pink mermaid that was dressed like Daisy Duck and had big gills.
Oh.
Typical fisherman. So marine biologists were called in, and they said that they suspect that this was a normal platypus that was just a little pale, and maybe it needed some sun, and it accidentally swam in a warm pool filled with lobsters, and its colors all faded as a result of it picked up the pink from the red lobsters. I don't know if I know. John, if you remember back in the old days, I think we saw the band Pink Platypus open for Blue Oyster Cult.
I was a big Blue Oyster Cult fan, Paul, but I'm telling you what, I'm trying to remember Pink Platypuses. It's not registering with me somehow.
I know those days are a haze someday. So this man's name was Cody Stiliano, and he named the platypus Pinky. The people aren't real creative down in Australia. Pinky, the pink platypus, and that doesn't sound real good. But I didn't know that Nothing is afraid of the platypus. The platypus is what they call an apex animal in the water in Australia. Even though it has a duck's bill, a beaver's tail, and lays eggs. So nobody's all the little animals are afraid of it. Humans, on the other hand, really are not afraid of it because all that stuff is edible and probably tastes good, so they just eat it. I don't know if you know this. The platypus has these giant webbed feet in the front to help it paddle, and some of them get kind of cocky and they try to fly with those webbed feet, and they get up to a certain level, and then something happens, and they, instead of a platypus, they become a splatipus.
Oh,
there you go.
I didn't even have to tell you to put the horn on that one, Paul. Very
Wait,
good.
there's
You're
more,
proactive.
John. There's more.
Yes.
If the splatipus lands on your head, it becomes a hatapulus. Hatapulus. And if it lands in the middle of the road, it becomes a flatipus. There you go.
Okay.
That's our puns for the day. Okay, speaking of Australia, John, and everybody out there who's a sports fan, this is for you. Or a runner. Australian runner by the name of Catherine Drysdale became the first woman to win, get ready for this, the Antarctic Marathon. That's right. An entire marathon, 26.2 miles, run on the continent of Antarctica. Her time, 3 hours, 48 minutes, and 43 seconds. That is fast, even if you're not running in freezing cold temperatures. This is the only marathon in the world where at the water station, they'll also knock the snotsicles off of your nose. Look at this poor woman. I mean, you can't see anything but snow and ice. I'm sure there's probably penguins along the side cheering around, but other than that, snow and ice. Yeah. It was so cold, all the race numbers were below 0. That's how cold it was.
Okay.
So cold, when she went through the finish ribbon, she cut herself on it because it was frozen.
Oh boy.
I know. We try. The 17 degrees, that's what it was. And the weather report said it felt like 0. It felt like 0. If it's that cold, I can't feel anything. So I don't even know what that feels like. But this is interesting. 3 of the top 5 finishers were women. There was about an even balance between men and women. I think there were about 30 of each. 3 of the top 5 were women, which is bad news for their husbands because they thought that their wives' feet were cold before. Wait till they got home from this. And then, if to make matters even more unbelievable, Portugal's Domatilha dos Santos, 70-year-old woman, became the oldest finisher overall of the Antarctic Marathon. Her time, 7 hours, 43 minutes, and 14 seconds.
7 hours to run that? Oh my God.
Yeah. 7 hours and 43 minutes in the freezing cold, in 0-degree temperature. I get an ice cream headache when I eat a snow cone.
Yeah.
I can't. 7 hours. How does she train? The only thing I can think of is she has a friend who's a butcher who lets her, run in the meat locker, run back and forth for 8 hours until they open in the morning, and then she goes home and he cuts a side of beef. I don't know. I mean, that's too cold for me.
Yeah.
Too cold for me. Speaking of cold places, Buffalo, New York, very cold place. Buffalo just set a world record for, this is for you, John, coming up soon with the Super Bowl, the largest chicken wing eating contest. 499 people got together to eat chicken wings in one location. The most buffalo wings ever eaten in one location, 499 people. This is something that, you're going to have to, when you have your next Super Bowl party, this could be a way that we could get into the record books here.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, Buffalo, of course, is known for their wings, but
Yeah.
499 people in one spot.
Yeah, I don't
Wow.
know how many wings they ate. They lost count. The
Oh, wow.
It was a
Sure, sure.
fundraiser. It was a fundraiser, by the way, to help pay their Buffalo bills.
Oh,
Oh,
very
Are
good,
we
Paul.
going
Very
uphill
good.
or downhill on the puns here?
I
No,
don't
that one's
know.
pretty good. We'll
You
take
know,
that
they
one. That's
set a
fine.
second record, by the way, for the most people eating celery and ranch dressing. Um,
Well, that would make sense too, right? I mean, that's those go hand in hand with the chicken wing.
it
Sure.
would be. That's right. And speaking of hand in hand, let's see what's actually in your hand when you eat a chicken wing. So we've got. I was curious because there's that little drumstick looking thing. Well, there's a technical name for that. It's called a drumette. And then there's the piece with that looks like like a violin bow, which is called the wingette with the two bones in it and a little bit of meat and mostly skin. And then there's also the wing tip or flapper is what they call that. And apparently some places leave the flapper on, other places take the flapper off. I don't know what they do with it. Um, but anyways, that's there's your little chicken wing anatomy lesson for today.
Okay, good.
How about the celery and the ranch dressing, John? Do you wonder who came up with that idea?
No, in fact, do you have info on that?
Of course he
I have
does.
the answer. Of course, this is what in the world. Of course, I have the answer. So,
Good, good.
in 1964, in Buffalo, New York, the buffalo wings were invented. This is one of the theories. There's some controversy, but we're going with this one. Frank and Teresa Bellissimo had a bar and one of their sons came back to the bar after going to somebody else's bar, and their friends were hungry. So all she had to make in the refrigerator was chicken wings and celery and ranch dressing. What a coincidence! So that's what they ate, and they loved it so much they started requesting it. So they the gastro people say, well, it's good. The celery is good to reduce the acid from the buffalo wings, and the ranch dressing cools off your mouth. Ah, baloney. It's because they were hungry and that's all they had to eat. That's what it was. Um,
Wow, interesting.
yeah, yeah. So okay, so that's the info. I thought I had something else to go on there, but no, I guess that's it. Okay, another world record. Oh, this was very popular on Facebook. I mentioned that because I'm on Facebook all the time. So just look me up on Facebook if you want to catch a glimpse of what we might be talking about next week. I like to test the stories out during the week, so you get a chance to be an insider. Also, many of our regular listeners know that I love to get stories from our listeners and our viewers. So just send it to me via a Facebook message. We have a number of people that we thank on a regular basis who send us photos and stories. So thank you for that, and you're all welcome to do that. So this one comes from Illinois. Eric Klebel of Naperville, Illinois, set a Guinness World Record for the tallest toothpick structure. Tallest toothpick structure. He built an Eiffel Tower using 20,000 toothpicks. Built it 17.3 feet, 17.3 feet tall, 20,000 toothpicks, and a heck of a lot of glue. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, no kidding. Wow.
if you want to know how many toothpicks 20,000 is, all of the drugstores in Naperville had a rush on dental floss because they were all out of toothpicks.
Yeah.
The hardest part that he said was making it smell like the real Eiffel Tower in Paris. He had to smoke all of the toothpicks in order to get that cigarette smell. The I apologize to all of our listeners in Paris. That was a French joke. We don't always do those, but I don't pass up too many opportunities. The besides getting the record, he also saved the lives of 20,000 stuffed olives who would not be impaled by those toothpicks. So
Oh
at least
boy.
Yeah.
not until they restocked. Yeah. So he tried to attempt this record after previously achieving a similar record with popsicle sticks. He made a different structure out of popsicle sticks. Now, this is the much more popular venue for art students and grade school kids with teachers who like to assign art projects. Popsicle sticks. You remember making we made bird houses and
Sure. We made like little houses or what have you, even garages
yeah.
or whatever. Sure, sure.
In fact, we just went through the Christmas season. I remember, I don't know if it was myself or my sister made a Christmas manger out of popsicle sticks.
Oh, okay, sure,
I'm
sure.
sure the wise men thought that was very unwise to with the smell
Probably.
of glue. Yeah. So you know, the bad thing about popsicle sticks is I think I've got one more picture of that. There you go. That's a nice picture of the Eiffel Tower there. The thing that's bad about popsicle sticks is if it's in the wintertime, not many people are eating popsicles. So it's tough to find popsicle sticks. You have to go to popsicle stick vendors, I guess, or to a drugstore. Drugstores have those tongue depressors, which are like double wide popsicle sticks that
Yeah, they're a lot bigger, right? For
oh
sure.
yeah, yeah. I don't know if they taste any better. I don't think so. Um, Popsicles, by the way, were invented in 1905 by an 11-year-old kid by the name of Frank Epison, who left some juice outside on the windowsill with a stick in it, and it froze overnight. And he thought, "Wow, this is cool." So he would do it all the time for his friends. And when he got old enough to start his own business, he started selling these things because they were so popular, and he called them Epsicles because that was his name, Epperson. So he called them Epsicles. And his friends all said, that's the stupidest name we ever heard. So he changed it to Popsicles, and the rest is history.
Wow.
He became very wealthy selling frozen water on a stick. Only in America can you do things like that. But here's a better story. Here's a better world record story. On June 22nd, 2005, the Snapple people decided they were going to get the record for the world's largest popsicle. So of course they got all kind of money. So they froze 25 feet of Snapple beverages into a block in New York City, and then they drove it to Edison, New Jersey, in a freezer truck, which is where they were going to do the world record attempt. Unfortunately, the truck malfunctioned, and when they got there, they had
Oh
basically
my.
and an awful lot of melted Snapple poured onto the street.
Oh
And
boy, yeah, wow.
yeah, no world record for them.
Hmm.
The people, the fire department had to hose it down. That's how much Snapple there was there. They did save the stick. They had a giant stick, and they used it to snap to spank the people who came up with this stupid idea.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
There you go. That's right, John. So let's talk about kids for a second. Everybody's picking on kids. Kids aren't as smart as they used to be. Well, we've got a couple of stories here that will change your mind. So the first one is from Queens, New York. The teachers were concerned about all the kids using smartphones. So they took all the smartphones away, and what they found was that the kids started paying more attention. They socialized more at lunch. They hustled in the hallway, because they weren't busy looking at their phones. The only negative was that they spent an awful lot of time asking their teachers what time it was because the school was equipped with the old-fashioned analog clock. Yeah, this is a true story. And they didn't know how to tell time with the old-fashioned clock.
Oh my gosh,
Isn't
wow.
that wild?
That is wild.
Even worse, they didn't have their phone, so they couldn't get on Wikipedia and look up analog clock and how to read an analog clock so that they could learn how to do it. They had to depend on their teachers who also had said they had very lively discussions with the students who wanted to know why those two black things on the clock were called arms, even though they had no hands or fingers. No, I don't know the answer to that. The driver's ed teachers, obviously, they thought it was great because now the kids finally understood what they meant when they said, put your hands at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. which
Well,
Yep.
yeah, sure.
we all learned that, right, John?
Sure, 10 and 2. Can't forget
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So to torture the kids even more with all the spare time they had now, the teachers taught them cursive writing. And that just
Wow.
that it's been scientifically proven. I think we talked about this on a past show that learning how to write cursively is a brain exercise that us older folks had and that the younger generation did not. But they're starting to learn it. There's a school in shoot, I didn't write down the name, the school where they were at. They formed a cursive club. The kids liked the idea of learning cursive writing and becoming smarter. So they formed a club, and that's what they did. They would meet after school and they would practice writing cursively. Not
Oh,
only,
wow.
yeah, not only did they get smarter, but now they knew how much their grandmother wrote on the check that
Yep.
they got in the mail for their birthday because grandma knows how to
Sure.
write cursive. Yeah.
Sure.
Which brings up something that I noticed the other day. I went to the pharmacy and I paid with a credit card, and this little thing pops up on the credit card reader that I'm supposed to sign my name, but they don't have a pen. It's on this video screen. So I have to sign it with my finger, except the box is bigger than my finger, which makes my signature look like, something BigFoot scrawls, or a snail squiggling along the screen. I don't know when that happened, but I don't think artificial intelligence can even figure out the signatures that are on those readers.
Yeah.
No, I think I think everybody accepts what's written there, I think.
Yeah, John, they all look the same. They all look like a
Right,
line
yes.
across the
Sure.
screen. One of these days, I think this is going to catch up with us. And that I'm getting off my soapbox at that point. Okay, this story's for Karen and John, and thank you, Karen, for mentioning that early on in our history. For those of you who haven't been with us that entire time, we used to broadcast our show from a place called Joe Max Donuts in Brecksville, Ohio. The owners were neighbors, still are neighbors and good friends of mine, and we loved it. We loved going there where their donuts were great. Our friends used to come and sit in on the show and eat donuts. We had such a good time. Obviously, we are donut lovers, and here's a donut story for you. This is a be careful what you wish for kind of story. So this comes from Haverhill, Massachusetts, and I was, what could be better if you love donuts than living next to a factory where they make donuts? Well, the people in Haverhill found out because Dunkin' Donuts built a factory in their city, and they now make 1 million donuts a day.
Oh,
million
wow.
donuts a day at the factory. And the residents at first thought, oh boy, this is great. Maybe anything that falls off the roof or out the window we'll get for free. The smell was so overpowering. They said it's overpowering, distracting, and heavy. Which people wrote that in my yearbook that I was overpowering, distracting, and heavy, but that's another story. They want to move. The people want to move away, but they said they would miss the police protection that they have in the city as a result of all those donuts being there. So some of the radical residents went to the local reservoir right down the street, and they filled it with coffee. And what they were going to do was bust the reservoir open and flood. Give Duncan a real Duncan is what they said they were going to do. So Duncan used to pay the residents for the inconvenience of having to breathe the smell of Dunkin' Donuts, but they said the people just frittered away the money. So sorry about that.
That's okay.
This is the only plant in the world where candy comes out of the sprinkler system, which is how they get them on the donuts, I guess. The only place in the world with more deep fryers than a Franciscan coal mine. I'll say that one again. More deep fryers than a Franciscan coal mine.
I get the pun. I get it.
I know, John. I knew you would get it.
I finally got it.
Okay, Karen, good.
So I can relate. My lovely wife and I were in Columbus, Ohio this weekend, and where we used to live, and we went past the Budweiser plant that was near our neighborhood, and we happened to smell the smell of beer brewing. Now, God bless all the microbreweries that are around. They don't stink like a giant Budweiser plant making probably a million cans of beer a day. And we didn't have a pretzel factory there to, kind of mask the smell of beer with pretzels, which would have gone together. Uh, I remember the day though that the beer plants, their air conditioning went out, and they were panicking because the beer was gonna, what happens to beer when it gets warm. They were so concerned. Luckily, the Columbus Fire Department got a helicopter, and they flew onto the roof, and they cut a hole in the roof with a giant bottle opener, and let all of the foam out of the plant. And if you believe
That would have been quite a sight, Paul. That's all I can
if
say.
if you believe that, wait till you hear the story that John's got for us. I have reached the end of my segment of What in the World and all the weird news that I could possibly find on the internet this week. So at this point in our show, I'd like to turn to my old buddy John DiNallo. John and I met as freshmen at John Carroll. We are fraternity brothers. John knows more about sports than anybody I know, and quite a bit about trivia as well, as you found out on the show. Every week I challenge John. John, find us a sport that lives up to weird sport. Sometimes strange, always funny. Sometimes weird. We'll get that part straight. Real sport, sometimes weird, always funny. John every week comes up with a sport that fits the bill, and he's got one this week. John, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Paul, for the introduction. So our sport this week is very unusual, to say the least. The name of this sport is shopping cart soccer. Let me explain. Despite what we think here in the US, soccer is the #1 sport in the world. And the country where the most soccer innovations come from is Germany. That's why many sports leagues kept a close eye on the German soccer league Bundesliga, and that is where we are seeing the latest new form of football or soccer, and it is shopping cart soccer. Now, shopping cart soccer began during the COVID pandemic as a fun way to ensure a safe distance between opponents and teammates. A team in Dresden, Germany, made a video of their players pushing a ball around with shopping carts, and they were soon swamped with questions about the rules and strategies of this unique game. Here are some of the pros and the cons the team came up with to help promote shopping cart soccer. On the pro side, the rules are the same as regular soccer, except you move the ball with your cart instead of your feet. You can't pick up the ball and put it inside your cart. However, if the ball gets hit and lands in your cart, no one can take the ball away from you.
Wow.
One benefit over regular soccer is that pushing the shopping cart improves a player's upper body strength and stamina. And if your teammate sits in your cart, it makes them taller for headers. Interesting benefit. Also, it is legal to ram an opponent's shins with the shopping cart. Of course, it is courteous if you offer your cart then as a stretcher to help carry them off the pitch. Finally, once the game is over and it's time to celebrate, you're ready to go grocery shopping with the cart.
Oh,
Now, there are some cons, though, to
Oh.
shopping cart soccer. Okay. At some stores, you have to pay a 25-cent fee for a cart before every game.
Oh,
That also is, I think, true of things at Aldi, if I'm not mistaken, which is a German-based grocery store.
that's right. Yeah.
Right. Now, there's that shin smashing thing, and it's also legal to run over toes with your cart. And the cart, it makes it harder for goalies to move around, obviously. And the worst con is getting a cart, whereas we all know one wheel keeps turning in the wrong direction.
Oh,
Yeah.
So, as you can see with Paul's wonderful photos here, shopping cart soccer is both a sport and a fun activity for the whole family. And the best part is, if you forget to bring a soccer ball, the store should have plenty of cantaloupes and watermelons for you.
oh yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. That kicking a watermelon could hurt as much as getting your shin rammed with a shot.
Yeah, I don't think you want to do either one. Right.
No, no, I don't think so either. What a weird. Why am I saying what a weird sport? This definitely hits the weird meter, pushes the needle towards the far right of the weird meter. That's
Well,
shopping cart soccer.
well, sure. And again, it was spawned by the pandemic where people
Right.
wanted to be able to distance themselves, from their opponents, right? So that's kind of the idea behind it, right?
That's right, and still stay in shape, still
Oh,
play
sure, sure,
soccer.
sure. Uh-huh. Yeah.
I could see that evolving. I could see where they might think it's a fun
Mm.
sport, and then all of a sudden, all these bored people during COVID said, "Hey, let's do that," and run to the nearest grocery store, and before you know it, there's no place to park, and there's no carts because everybody's out there playing soccer, and I'm surprised. Well, I know why it didn't catch on here because soccer is nowhere near as popular here as it is in Germany, for example, or Europe. And shopping cart basketball, I don't know about that. Shopping cart football, I
No, they
think
said that, yeah, no.
perfect combination, John.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean,
Shopping
it's
and
sure,
sports.
sure. Yeah.
Well,
Oh.
I heard, as I'm listening, I thought, yeah, this is too weird. I don't think I've ever heard of a sport combination like that. And then I started thinking, John, back to our college days when the fraternities at our school used to challenge each other to weird things, weird activities. And I remember one of the fraternities challenging ours to a game of shopping cart soccer. Do you remember that?
No, I'm totally blank on this, Paul. You have to help me on this one.
Totally blank. That's what happens to people our age. So I'll help you out. I happen to have
Please
some
do.
photograph I have a write-up of what happened. So we were challenged to shopping cart soccer by one of the other fraternities. And John and I, John in particular, is an honest person, and we didn't want to steal shopping carts from one of the local grocery stores. So we proposed a counter sport, so to speak. And with something that we had plenty of. So we proposed shopping bag soccer. And the rules for shopping bag soccer would be that we would wear shopping bags over our heads as we played the sport of soccer. And I happen to have a picture of John and myself and some of our other fraternity brothers sitting on the bench waiting to get into the game with our shopping bags on our heads. Now, you would think superb athletes that John and I talk about being back in those days that we probably won the game. But what happened was the other team looked much more fierce. They had some very very fierce looking bags on their heads,
Oh,
and
yeah.
scared the heck out of us. So we lost the game. However, we won the after party because I'm not going to mention the name of this fraternity, but they were so dumb. How dumb were they? When we had the beer afterwards, they forgot to cut holes in their bag for the beer, and they couldn't drink. Look at the sad face on that bag. He
Well, a
can't.
sad face for sure on that bag. Sure, exactly. Wow.
So there you have it. Beer, shopping cart, shopping bag soccer. Some weeks it takes a long time to find this, but other weeks, they come right to you. Shopping cart soccer, out by the way, is a real sport, and thanks to John DiNallo for that great sport.
Oh, thanks, Paul, Karen, and audience. Appreciate it.
So regular listeners know that when John is done with sports, that means it's time for everybody's favorite weird news game, Bluff the co-host. Bluff the co-host. Oh, I have some great stories every week, similar to the stories we've been talking about all afternoon. One big difference, those stories are real, or at least as real as you can get on the internet. These stories may be real, but they may be a bluff, and it's up to John and Karen and all of you playing out there to decide real story or fake story. Wagering is allowed, so place your bets. John and Karen, hands on the buzzer. Let's get right to story number one. While it seems like you can say anything on a vanity license plate as long as you can afford the fee, the Ohio Bureau of Motor Vehicles has released its list of banned vanity plates for 2026, and it contains well over 2,000 rejected letter and number combinations. Now, we won't go into the obviously vulgar ones, but there are others that are, basically only in Ohio messages that are banned. So while BATMITMICH, Beat Mitch, has already been banned, they also now banned Beat Indy and Loser Hoosier. That's LOSRHOSR, also banned. Roadkill lovers can't get dead squirrel anymore or flat cat. Older drivers can no longer get I am slow, back off, or Mima's inside. MEMANSID, Mima's inside. If you are unsure about your vanity message, the Bureau recommends sending it in an email and warns that if you include a $50 gift via PayPal, you will get banned, even if your license plate says, "Love you, Ohio." Okay, so a list of some of the 2,000 banned vanity plates, which we just listed, 2,000 of them in the state of Ohio. What do you say, real or bluff? Karen, we'll start with you.
Well, I saw an article like this on the internet, and some of the ones that I saw that were banned aren't the ones you mentioned, but made no sense that they were banned. But that's the state of Ohio, so I believe this is true.
Okay, Karen says it's a real story. John, how about you?
Yeah, I'm going to say it's true also. I mean, I could see that. I think 2,000 is quite a large number of things to be banned, but there's a lot of people in Ohio and a lot of people with a lot of ideas. So that kind of makes sense to me. So I'm going to say it's real.
Okay, so both John and Karen say that the list of 2,000 banned items, of which I selected a few of them, is real. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say, A, it was only about 500, and B, none of those were on the list. They were all dirty, filthy things that I would laugh.
Oh, really? Okay.
No, one of them actually was Lipitor.
Oh,
really? Okay. All right.
Like,
Okay.
what's wrong with that?
I know.
Yeah, there isn't
Well,
nothing wrong with that, I don't
I
think.
suppose the Lipitor people might have that. So anyway,
Okay.
that was a bluff. The score is 0-0. Let's get right to story number two. Most churches ban pets unless they're trained service animals or it's the feast of St. Francis of Assisi and they're there to get blessed. But the Church of St. Anthony the Abbot in Cairo, Egypt, not only opens a weekly service to pets, it lets in all creatures, including farm animals. That's because St. Anthony the Abbot is the patron of farm animals and is always depicted standing with a pig. The pastor and his staff are trained in animal care and help the owners of the creatures keep their beast in line during the weekly Orthodox service, which includes a reading by a parishioner who speaks in barks, moos, howls, and other animal sounds. St. Anthony the Abbot is not well known in other places, so the only other place with a church in his name that might be interested in this kind of animal service is ironically on the Canary Islands. Okay. St. Anthony the Abbot Church in Cairo, Egypt honors the patron saint of farm animals by letting farm animals attend a service every week. Real or bluff? John, as the designated Catholic, will start with you.
Well, I'm going to say that this is a bluff. To me, it sounds very outlandish. Not the fact of the other uh, churches on the Canary Islands, but the person in the congregation that's like speaking in animal sounds. I mean, please. I just don't see it. I'm hoping again. This is one that you pray for is not real. You pray it's not
Okay.
real.
All right. John says it's a bluff. Karen, how about you?
I have to agree. I don't want any farm animals in my church. Oh, I don't go to church. But anyways, I think it's a bluff.
Okay, both Karen and John say it's a bluff. I don't know what everybody out there think. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say congratulations to both of you. The only thing real in that entire story is that Saint Anthony the Abbot is the patron saint of farm animals.
Very good, Paul. Very good.
There's something I did not know. I knew Saint Francis of Assisi was the patron saint of animals and pets in general, but
Sure.
farm animals, they have their own martyr.
Yep.
He probably got, he was going on his way to church and got run over by a herd of cows, and that's why he's now the patron. Well, maybe that would. Anyways, so John has scored tied 1-1, and points are double in round number 3, as our regular listeners know. But it doesn't matter. Somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose, or we're going to go home with a tie, and both of you will be winners. So let's get right to story number 3. Memphis may be the home of Elvis Presley's Graceland mansion, but Las Vegas is the home of the most Elvis impersonators, except for one weekend a year in January, when thousands of Elvis impersonators celebrate the King's birthday at the largest train station in Australia. The festival was started by an Elvis fan in Park, Australia, which is near Sydney, and the train station is the largest building in town. Plus, it's the way upwards of 20,000 fans and impersonators arrive for a weekend of singing, impersonating, and eating fried peanut butter sandwiches at the Graceland restaurant, which coincidentally is owned by the festival's founders. While Elvis never made it to the festival himself, plenty of impersonators do, which makes the Australian festival fun for fans of the king, but confusing for kangaroos and koalas. Okay, the largest Elvis Presley festival in the world is not in Memphis, but in a train station in Australia. Real or bluff? Back to you, Karen.
Well, I would have thought you would have said in Las Vegas, but I'm going to say it's true. What the heck?
What the heck? There you
What
go.
the heck?
There's the logic right there. What the heck? It's true. John, what the heck do you say?
Yeah, I'm going to say it's true also. It's odd that it is in Australia, but I think it's very, very plausible. So, yeah, I'm going to say it's true.
Very true. What the heck? John says it's true as well. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say, what the heck? Congratulations to both of you. That is a real story.
All right, Karen. Very good. Very
Actually, I was doing some fact checking, and it's actually 25,000. They just had the festival last weekend, and this year they got 25,000 people, of which well over 1,000 were Elvis impersonators. Who knew? I would like to hear Elvis in an Australian accent. I think that would be a thing to do.
Yeah, really. Wow.
But anyway, we've reached the end of another episode of our What in the World podcast. I want to thank Karen Hale, our co-host, producer, media mogul at newclevelandradio.net, and sponsor through Yes I Can Coaching with Karen. Thanks so much, Karen, for everything you do for us, for all you've done for me and my podcast, for running on. How many years did you say? 9 years now?
Starting our 9th year.
Our 9th year. So, boy, if you're looking for a place to host your podcast, check out newclevelandradio.net. Obviously, I've managed to make it through this long. We've got some sponsors. I want to thank Cassandra as well. Cassandra Kubinski. Check out her the links that Karen has on her site. Also, I think Catherine has her own site. Some great music, piano player, wonderful singer as well. So please check us out there. Also, I want to thank my old buddy John DiNallo, co-host, color commentator, trivia guy, host of What in the World of Sports. Thanks for putting up with me every week, John. Hopefully, we don't have the Browns to talk about anymore. We don't have much college football to talk about it anymore. Let's hope the Cavaliers do well, so we've got a local team.
Yeah, and again, in Cleveland, as most people are aware that are sports fans, we're in search of another head coach for the Cleveland Browns. So that's going to be ongoing conversation and review for the next several weeks until they finally select the next person that's going to hopefully lead this team forward.
Well, let me tell everybody out there, we won't be talking about it because that's far too controversial for our show, and I don't think it'll be very funny at all.
Oh boy.
So anyways, and most importantly, we want to thank all of you who are listening, watching, whether live or somewhere in the future. Thank you so much for joining us. You're the reason why we get together every week for 9 years now for Karen and myself, and John's probably going on 5 or 6 here. Talking about the weird things that happen in Northeast Ohio and in the United States and around the world. We find the weirdest and we bring them to you. This is the place to come for fun news. Forget the mainstream media. We have a good time at least for 1 hour every week. You can spare an hour, makes you feel better for the rest of the day, maybe for the rest of the week until next week, next Tuesday at 3:30, assuming we don't change the time on you, like we like to do. We should be here on Tuesday, 3:30 Eastern Standard Time. And on that note, I think I have reached the end of all the things I wanted to talk about. Thanks again to everybody. Any parting words, Karen, or are we on our way out?
No, I think we're on our way out, and we'll see you all next week.
Next week.
Have a